Hello guys, welcome to another day for Networking Labs. My name is Bebo Johnson Vola, your lecturer in this series of Networking Labs. And today we are going to be looking at DHCP configuration, that is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, whereby you automatically receive IP address to your communication devices. What is the importance of DHCP? DHCP help relieve you from the stress of moving to one device to another in order to configure IP address statically. Imagine you are in a huge organization that has a lot of communication devices. Let's say 300. Let's just call 300 device, although there can be up to 3,000 devices, communication devices in an organization, and then you have to walk up to all these devices and assign IP address to each of them in using a static method. It will be very, very, very strenuous. So this is where the concept of DHCP come in to help facilitate this strenuous task, whereby you can use a DHCP server and it automatically assign IP address to all the communication devices that are connected in the network. So without wasting much time, we are going to jump into Packet Tracer and see how this can be achieved. Okay, here we are in Packet Tracer. So to set up a DHCP server, we can either, there are several methods, but the most recommended tool that I would like to share with you guys is either to set up your DHCP server using a DHCP server itself or a dedicated DHCP server, or you can set up your DHCP server by using the method of router on a stick, whereby you use a router as your DHCP server to assign IP address to the various communication devices in your network. So let's go and see let's start with the method of router on a stick. So let's get a normal fast Ethernet router. So let's just get a fast Ethernet router, and we get a fast Ethernet switch. You can still do this with a gigabit switch or a gigabit Ethernet. The fact that I use mostly fast Ethernet switch or fast Ethernet router does not mean that this can only work with fast Ethernet switch or fast Ethernet router. You can use gigabit router and the setup is pretty much the same. Okay, so let's connect like this, and let's get some PC. Let's also get one printer. Okay, so we are just using this simple topology to demonstrate the concept of DHCP. Assuming that this is your topology, where you have one router in an organization and you have several PCs and printers that are connected to this router, you can just set up your straight simple configuration in a very easy manner. But like I said, as we move forward with the lecture, we are going to be seeing more bigger and more complicated network. But the main thing here is for you guys to understand the concept before we proceed with building huge and sophisticated network. Okay, so to start with, my main focus is to use this router as a DHCP server. Okay, so we pretty have less settings to do with this switch. If it's just a brand new switch that you've gotten, all the interface will be in VLAN 1, and so you will not have much attention or much work to do in configuring the switch. Our main focus will be in this router that we have to use as our DHCP server. So let's get into the router and see how these settings can be done. So this first message is asking you if you would like an automatic configuration. So what we do is we say no, because we want to do our own settings. So we move to the global configuration mode, and here, so let's just say host name, whatever name you want to give, you give the switch. I will just say R1 for lecture purpose. Our main focus here is to create a DHCP server. So what we have to do, first of all, we have to go and configure this interface and give it an IP address. so that it will serve as a gateway through which the IP address can be assigned to these various PCs and printer. So we are here in Fast Ethernet 001. Let's go to that interface and try to configure it. So go to interface, Fast Ethernet 0/0. So we are in that interface. We give it now an IP address 192.168.10.1 255.255.255.0. okay, so now that we have given it an IP address, the next thing we have to do is to start creating our DHCP pool. So the command to create DHCP pool is IP DHCP, and then you give it a pool name. So you say what? IP DHCP. Then we give it a name. Let's just say network. Okay, let's just give the IP network, and we press command. So after we've given the IP DHCP pool, the next thing we have to do is what? To define the network. Okay, so we say network. We say network (192.168.10.0) 255.255.255.0. So this is going to be the pool of IP address in which all PCs and all devices connected to this network will draw their IPs from. So this 0 here is what is for the host. So all this is the network part, and this 0 here stands for the host values that are going to be assigned to the various network. So the next thing now we have to do is to create the default router. So default router, we give it now that IP address which we assign to this interface. This interface Fast Ethernet 0/0. So that is what will serve as the default router, 192.168.10.1. So like this, we have already created our DHCP pool. So guys, you see how simple it is. Creating DHCP pool on router on a stick is very simple and straightforward. So the next thing now we have to do is to go into this switch. If you see the lines, the states are still down. There are two reasons why these states are still down. First, we have not given the no short command on this interface. We just came here and we assigned the IP address. Remember, when you get a brand new switch, all the interfaces, all the ports are administratively down. So you have to give the command to it, no short, for the states to be up. So what we are going to do is we will give that command, we'll go back into that interface and give it a no short, and then we'll come here, we make this port a trunk port. So let's come back here, we go back to the interface Fast Ethernet 0/0. we say what? No short. So this is just a short form of the abbreviation of no short. We say enter. So you see they now say line protocol up. So the protocol now is up. If you see it's establishing now a connection and a communication between the router and the switch. So we come now to this switch and we go to this interface. That's interface okay, Fast Ethernet 0/1. So we go now to this interface and we make it a trunk port. Okay, so this is the command to make it a trunk port. Switch port mode trunk. Okay, so you see that all the the states are all administratively up and they are communicating. So let's go and see if our DHCP configuration is perfectly working. We come now here, you go to desktop, configure, you see that actually there's no IP address here. This is a static IP and we have not assigned any IP address. So let's try to see. Boom, you see, we now have an IP address dynamically assigned 192.168.10.2 with the subnet mask, and this is the default gateway, which is the gateway we assign on the fast port Ethernet 0 of the router. Let's come here and see. Boom, we have a successful IP address. Boom. So let's go now to the printer and see. DHCP. Boom. You see, it has gotten the default gateway. So come now to the interface. You come now to the interface and you see that it has gotten the IP address 192.168.10.5. So guys, this is how you can configure DHCP on your router using router on a stick. But you can also use a DHCP server in order to do this particular task. So let's get a DHCP server and see how this is being done. Get a DHCP server. Okay, so the number one thing I want you to understand here is that the way we are going to configure DHCP server on, we are going to configure DHCP on this DHCP server in Packet Tracer is not exactly the same way that it is being applied in real life scenario. So this one, you can configure it using maybe like, let's say Windows Server 2012, 2019, 2022, you know, you configured it using that application that has been installed on a PC. You can use, there are many Windows servers applications out there that you can use to do this. Okay, you just have to go to the DHCP section and then you install that feature and role. You install the feature and role for DHCP server and you configure it. So after we have done with this, we are going to look on how we can do network administration on Windows Server, either Windows Server 2019 or Windows Server 2022. As we are progressing, we will be unfolding many more lectures on different areas. Okay, we will even jump into the area of looking at how to troubleshoot your network using Wireshark. But everything will start slowly, and with your response and collaboration and encouragement, we will look into all those things. So all you have to do is to go to the DHCP, you come to service. Now you have different service here. You can see email, FTP, NTP, AA, syslog, DNS, TFP, DHCP version 6. So these are all services that are services and features that are in Windows Server operating system. So you select the features that you want, you install the features and the role, and then you do this configuration. So we are going to come here to DHCP, and the number one thing we have to do is to turn the service on. Okay, if we want now, we can define the pool. Okay, so here the pool we are going to the default gateway we are going to define is the IP address that we will give to this server. Okay, remember, once you are using a server has to have a static IP address. You cannot give a dynamic IP address to this server, so we give it a static IP address. So let's just come first of all and give the server an IP address. So let's say 192.168.50.1. okay, so let's just give it this IP address. So this is the IP address that will serve as the default gateway for the DHCP pool. We come now to services. The default gateway, we put now this IP address there, 192.168.50.1. For DNS server, we really don't need this. Now we come to IP address. You see here they say the start IP address. You can decide to choose that IP address assigned should start from this particular pool with this particular host number, because you might want to reserve some IP address for some devices in the network that need static IP addresses. So you can now give this particular IP address or reserve this particular IP address to those devices that need static IP address. So here we are going to just say 192.168.50. So let's say we reserve the IP address from host number 1 to host number 10 for some different devices that we might need to use on the network that needs static IP. So our DHCP pool will start from 11. Okay. Okay. So I think everything is good. Yeah, I think that's it. So we save our configuration. Okay, so now remember all of them are in native VLAN 1, so communication won't have to be a problem. So now let's come here and see if you'll be able to draw an IP address from those IP DHCP pool. Boom, you see that it start assigning IP address from host number 11 because we have given it the command to do so. We'll also look at how to set this limitation in the router, and as we move forward with the lecture. Come here. Boom, see, starting from 12. Boom. You see? So guys, this is how we configure DHCP on a server and how we configure it on router on a stick. Thank you for watching. So the next concept we are going to look at is the concept of routing protocol. And after looking at the concept of routing protocol, we are going to put all these concepts that we have seen so far together to build a small business network and apply all these concepts together to see how we can come up with a successful topology and configuration using these various concepts that we have used so far. Thank you once more for watching. See you in our next lecture.